Hello, everyone. Welcome to Let's Be Real podcast with Brittany and Leslie. We are
Hi.
two sisters in Christ who are having candid conversations about real life situations today. So, my name is Brittany Andrews. I am here with you, and I have my co-host here.
And I'm Leslie. So I guess today we'll start out by telling you a little bit about ourselves so you can kind of know what you're in for. And hopefully you will continue to listen to us and we will really
Yeah,
enjoy that.
yeah. So, how do we want to get it started? Well, as I said before, we are two sisters in Christ. We met not even a year ago now, and God gave us a vision to go ahead and start this podcast. He gave us many different signs that this was something that we needed to do. We talked to each other on a almost a daily basis, almost an everyday basis, and we have very real conversations with one another. Conversations more real than I've had before with anyone else. And as we've had our conversations, we'll get outsiders look at us and say, why are you so honest with each other? Why are you so real? And the answer was because this person makes me better. And I think it was the same for both of us. This person makes me better when we're real, when we're unfiltered with one another. And so we wanted
Hmm.
to share that. We wanted to share that with all of you.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's initially what we wanted to do. I think for us, you know, building a friendship, first of all, is somewhat difficult, right? Especially these days. Friends are definitely difficult to really assigned friends are very difficult to really identify these days. So, and I know when we first met, we were both on our own assignments in our life and on our own different courses. But we had some similarities at the time that really brought us together in that moment. And I realized that, wait a minute, this is something that we can really benefit from telling others, right? Like, I think the first thing you need to know is a little bit about
Right.
us, right? I'm a licensed professional counselor, so I'm a psychotherapist, and I've been working in the field for over 16 years. And I think, and I actually, I work with trauma based therapy, depression, anxiety, adults, and adolescents, and elders. So I've been actually doing this for a while. And so when I initially had a conversation with Brittany about what I do, that's what it just kind of launched off into something else. And then she would tell you a little bit about what she does so we can have, I guess, so you guys can have a
Yeah, a
better
better
picture
picture
of
of who
what
we
kind of
are.
like,
So, again, my name is Brittany
yes.
Andrews. I am a holistic wellness coach, and what that means is I guide others through fasting and a ketogenic lifestyle, foods that are healthy for your body, and fasting and prayer. So, these are some things that I practice in my everyday life. My background prior to doing that is a registered nurse of over 10 years in critical care and in emergency care. And throughout my care, all of those years, I just saw patients that were not being healed, but they were prolonging a unhealthy life. My patients were getting older and older and older, and they were unable to care for themselves. They would become diabetic. They would become obese. I've dealt with patients with PCOS, and through a lifestyle of fasting for myself, I changed my life got better, and so that's when I went into holistic wellness, and it's really amazing. I love it. The point of what I do is to serve others, and so through a wellness coach, a registered nurse, and a therapeutic counselor, I mean, she's amazing. I just want to tell you that she's amazing. And we have conversations all of the time About our background. I mean, we're just talking about everyday life, really. We're talking about our clients, and we're talking about how do we serve them better? What do we do better? And iron sharpens iron. I'll tell you that about our relationship. And we just make each other better. And by making each other better, we make our clients better. We're able to share tools and realistic tools. I'm not one. Sometimes people say that I'm a little harsh, or Brittney, you're very firm, you're very strict, and it's not that I want to be firm or strict. I want you to be better, and that's something I
Mhm.
love about Leslie. She is going to tell you the truth no matter how you may react to it. I've heard it was so funny whenever we first started having these conversations. She told me, she said, yeah, and that's what I told the client. If they leave, they leave. I mean, if I'm the right one for them, great. But if I'm not, then they need to move on and find someone that can help them, because I'm here to make you better. I'm not here to tell you something that's going to make you feel good. I'm here to bring
Yeah. Yeah.
change. And that's what I love about
Yeah.
her. She's here to bring real change, and she brings a real change in me. I've become better since I've known her. Just
And I think that's so important as we're trying to, evolve as women, right? Or you want your clients to evolve. You don't want them to just come to you for just mundane services. You want to see some fruit. Like you want to see some productivity out of your work. So I think for me, success is seeing my clients, move to another level. That's what success means for me. So I think keeping it real and being realistic with them. And I love reality based therapy. I love, just kind of having those candid conversations, like why do you make the choices you make, what triggers you for one, but also the why behind some of the things that we do is very important. I think even what we're doing now, like we came up with the why behind it, and I think it made it so much it's made it so much easier for us to really embrace the totality of this mission. And I think just really having those candid conversations have really helped us to find our own place in life, not just become like, oh, we're healthcare providers,
right,
but really to really take a look at what that looks like. And I think we won't do that until you have someone in your life that really inspires you to, in a way, to make you want to look deeper
right,
at what you do.
right,
And I think that's how we become better, right? And I think you can only become better by having real people around you. And so that's why we came up like with the first, like our name of our podcast is like, let's be
yeah.
real. I mean, I think being
hmm
real is like
I think it's the first
telling
step.
someone the truth.
It's the first step.
Yeah, that's the first step of growth.
Yeah.
It's the first step of any growth,
hmm
right? Like if I want to really be real with myself and stop using drugs, or stop, obsessing, or stop overeating
Right,
or overthinking. First, I have to be real about what's happening to me, or
right,
like what's going on with me.
right,
I think the first step in therapy, we always tell people, identify the problem.
right,
What is the problem?
right.
And I think if you're not real with yourself and you're living in some form of
hmm
denial, then you're not going to be able to do the work.
Right, right.
Real change only happens when you can be real with yourself. And I actually came up with that slogan recently in a session. It just came to me like, you can only do the work when you're real.
Yeah.
You can't do the work when you're
Right. If
in
you're not
denial.
being honest with yourself, you can't do the work. Or you're going to operate and you're going to do a thing that you don't get real change. There won't be any growth. And that's when you have to stop
Mm-hmm.
and take a look and say, wait, does my life look the same it looked last year? Or has there been a growth? Has there been a measurable change? And a measurable change is not only 10 pounds off of the scale. Is my skin brighter? Is my hair more lustrous? Is it more bouncy? Do I have more energy? How is my focus? These are the measurable things that we look at.
And I think we have to. I think I was listening to my favorite motivational speaker, Eric Thomas, and I was thinking about something he said. He was talking about no one else needs to evaluate you. You need to be evaluating yourself. And if you're not where you want to be, you need to look in the mirror. And I think sometimes when we are surrounded by people who won't hold us accountable, who won't tell us to look in that mirror, we're only doing a disservice to ourselves. I think when you're really with people who care about you, they need to care about you enough to tell you the truth. Or you need to reassess those relationships. I think that's what it allowed us to do, is to reassess where we wanted our spiritual life to go, our marriages, our family, things in our life that we saw stagnate, areas where there was stagnation. I think when you put people in their rightful place and they have some type of positive impact in your life, then you start realigning or reassessing various areas of your life so you can only become better. And I think that should be your ultimate mission in life, is to be better every day.
Right. And then it's like, well, let's be real. What does that actually look like? What does being better actually look like? Well, I'll tell you, it's not easy, and it doesn't look pretty all the time. It doesn't. The fact is, relationships, what I found out in our relationship, and as we've grown more and more, relationships, there's no neutral relationships. They're either positive or negative. You're either helping someone to grow or you're holding them back. You're pushing them in the wrong direction. There's no such thing as stagnation. You're either pushing forward or you're being pushed behind from where you want to go, where you want to see your life. So let's be real. Let's see. What is a good example of a friend being real with you, of someone being real with you, or you being real with yourself? Well, it's when you have a conversation with your husband, for an example, and you say something you shouldn't have said, or you got an attitude, or maybe you just didn't respond in the way you should have. So whenever you get on the phone and say, sis, let me tell you what my husband did. What a real friend is going to do and say, well, I don't know, sis, maybe you didn't respond right. And I don't want my sister to always be on my side, but correct me if I do something wrong. Tell me. I tell Leslie all the time, sis, you better rebuke me. You better tell me, because I want to grow. I want to be better. I don't need friends that are gonna agree with me and pat me on my back. What do you think? I think that's real.
I mean, you're absolutely right? I mean, because those people don't help us, right? They only hurt us, because we'll find ourselves years later in the same situation we were, 5 years ago. Like, you're like, oh, I have a 5-year goal, but you haven't met him, you haven't even achieved anything or met any of your goals. And I think it's important to surround yourself with people like, what are your goals? Who do you want to become in your marriage? What type of mother you want to be? Are you aiming to be that person? Like, we can share not only spiritual stuff, but financial stuff, and also how to become better in so many, just not in the mundane things that most people talk about, but deeper than on the surface, right? Because I think at the end of the day, you need to be around people who are concerned about your soul as well as your body and your mind, right? Like, sometimes people may text you,
and
or
your finances,
I notice
too.
when I text,
I need you to be worried about my bank account.
Yes, and your finances. Yeah. And I mean, it's so important, because sometimes people can text you and they can be like, oh, how are you doing today? And you'll be like, oh, I'm having a good day. Are you really having a good day? Like, tell me what's going good. Like, what's been going on? Like, yeah, like, do that double check. Because sometimes I realize when I say, really, what is really going on? And so they'll be like, oh, this happened today. Or let me tell you, really, because sometimes people may feel like you don't have time. So they'll just tell you, oh, it's good. Or, you know what, I don't want to talk about it, so I'm just going to tell them it's good, because they don't probably want to really hear the truth. So I think that allows you to also reassess that relationship. If you can't be authentic in that moment when they say, how are you doing? That lets you, if you have to say good every time, or I'm fine, that's a clear sign right there that that's someone that you probably can't be real with.
You can't be real with them.
And I realized that you can't. So you really have to, I think sometimes we misprioritize people in our life because we're like, oh, I just gave them this title a year ago, so they're just going to keep this title. Sometimes it's really good to juggle people around and to reassess where they need to be, because you do need people in your life that are going to be able to, not only just tell you the truth, but also support you in those times where you are when you are truthful. So I think it's very important to surround ourselves with people that are totally honest with themselves, for one, but also can be totally honest with you too.
Right. And it's okay. It's okay to reevaluate a friendship. It's not a bad thing if someone goes from a best friend to an associate, or vice versa.
It's okay.
If someone moves from associate to best friend, it's not a bad thing to reevaluate these relationships based on where you want to be in life. For me, I'm constantly moving forward in life. So if you're in a place in a season in your life where you want to be stagnant, then this is not the best time for us to be close together, and that's okay. Maybe there'll be another season.
And that's so. And I mean, you have to be
honest about that.
You have to be okay.
You have to be honest about that.
Yes.
And then you have to watch. There's something you said a few moments ago about being able to share when someone does do that double check. Do you feel okay being vulnerable with that person? That's another check. Do I even feel vulnerable enough with this person? And if you don't, make a reassessment. And it's okay. It's okay to make a reassessment. Okay. I think we have this idea that, if I don't show up for this person all the time, even though the person is toxic for you, if I don't show up for them, I'm going to lose them. I mean, maybe you do need to lose them. I mean, let's just be real. Maybe you do. If you're not growing, because you're already growing, because you're already losing out, right? Because you're already losing out, right? So I think sometimes, I mean, and I always tell people too, because I love this book that I read by Pastor Daniel. He actually wrote a book called Relational Intelligence, and I love this book. I'm almost done reading it, and I think some of the biggest takeaways is like recognizing the seasons of relationships, like recognizing that when people are supposed to be, when people should be in an assignment, or when people should be an acquaintance and you make them a friend prematurely. And I think the reason why we're talking about this is because it ties in with the fact that you can't be real with someone you don't feel comfortable with. And I think for us is realize, I think our initial conversation that we had, it just broke everything. Like we let down every barrier, every wall. And that was like, wow, that was a very deep, vulnerable moment. That was on day one. And it was kind of weird. Conversation day one. It was day really one. To be honest, it was a God appointment. That's what it was. It was just a God appointment.
Yeah, but we had to choose each other. And I think in life sometimes life may bring you someone, but it's up to you to choose that person. And I think that's one of the biggest things. You have to be real with what you need in this season, but you also have to choose that thing that's been sent to you. Like some good stuff may come your way, like a good job. But if you don't choose that job, you're going to bypass that job for another job that may not be that good. And so I think sometimes even in our relationship, we're like, well, they were sent, but you didn't keep them because you felt like, I don't need them right now. But the people that are really gonna in every season, you will find people on the road that will be there in that season. They will be right on the road. It's up to you to recognize that, wow, they're on the road. They're on this path that I'm on. They're right on my journey. I just need to embrace them. And maybe it's a short-term friendship. Maybe it's a long-term friendship. But when you're on certain journeys in life, sometimes the people that you need that are going to keep it real with you are right on the same road that you're on.
I think
you have to recognize
that. I think it's really important to mention that when we met, we were not looking for each other. We were not looking for, not saying that I have an issue with a very close friend. I just didn't realize that I needed it. I didn't realize how badly that it was an essential thing to my growth. I had no idea. I was at the coffee shop. I was enjoying my Starbucks.
And I was doing my thing. And I think it was like and we were in a whole nother country. So we were chilling, like on vacation, vacation with our spouses. So it's like, I'm not looking for a friend right now. So it's definitely like when it's almost remind me of when the timing of alignment. So
Yes.
sometimes in our
Oh,
life, don't miss the timing of alignment. I
yes.
mean, I think it's important to discern where you
Hmm.
are so you won't miss that season of alignment.
Yes.
Because I think we can spiritualize everything, but we can also miss seasons too, because we're so like, oh, if it doesn't happen like this,
Right.
then I can't accept
Right.
it. So it didn't happen the way we wanted.
It
Like it
didn't,
wasn't our
right. It
ideal
wasn't an
meetup, right?
idea.
So
It definitely didn't look like we didn't meet in college. And
yeah,
like you just said, we
yeah.
met in a whole nother country. We didn't even meet in the United
Hmm.
States at all. So it's really, really important to know that when an opportunity presents itself, it may not look like what you thought it would look like. And that's
Hmm.
okay. And that's
And that's
okay.
okay.
Yeah.
And
But
yeah, but I think, in actuality, I really, really think we can't embrace anything new until we realize that we need it.
hmm
We have to realize that we need it.
hmm
And also, not that we needed, that parts of our soul needed.
yes.
Like, I mean, because when I met you, you were going on a different spiritual journey,
hmm
and you were talking about like there was some missing components
Yeah.
while you were on that, trying to find out what that journey even looked like
Yes.
for you. And
Yes.
I think that's what I think brought about this hunger for something
hmm
new.
hmm
And I think that's something we have to always examine too. Like, give me a hunger for something
hmm
real. Give me a hunger for something new.
Yes.
I think that's when you're going to, on that role, you'll recognize it more because you're keeping yourself open and
Yeah.
vulnerable to the ideal that something new will come to you.
Yes.
Whether it's like of renewing in your friendship, like, he can renew the person that's right by you already.
hmm
They may be on the road too, but you can't see them because you've been seeing so many old things about them. You
Right.
haven't been able to see the new things about them. So it's just like, look for newness.
Yes.
Wake up in the morning and say, give me something new
I need
today.
a, and we talk
Put
about that.
something new in
We
my
talk about that a lot. I need a fresh. I need a
fresh.
fresh Holy Spirit every single day. I don't need the Holy
Yeah.
Spirit from yesterday. I need a freshness. God, give me a freshness
Hmm.
today, and we need that every single
Yeah.
day. We have to do
We
that
need
check in
that.
the mirror every single day.
That check is so important. That's why I love my Ayana. Ayana is amazing because she always talk about like, beloved, be real
Yes.
with yourself. Beloved, you need
Yeah.
to embrace embrace the totality of the Holy
Oh,
Spirit and embrace that you
yeah.
need the new breath in your
Yeah.
life, right? And I think the understanding is that we have to embrace newness in order for us to see what's in front of
hmm
us, see something new that's in front
Yeah.
of us, and also know how to handle that new thing.
Right.
Like know how to where to place that new thing.
Right.
That's what I mean. Because so often we get something new and we just like displace it right the same way we've done everything else. And I think you have to reorganize some other stuff to put the new
Right.
thing in place. So
Right.
just recognize that your life may need something more real, something new, something outside of the norm because you
Something
probably
that
become
goes
complacent.
deeper. We live this very
Yeah.
superficial 6 second lifestyle, right? We live in a very superficial society, and people just don't go deep anymore. I was talking to one of my patients the other day, and he said, I haven't had a conversation. No one's looked me in my eyes in a very long time. You're the first person that actually looked at me. The doctors come in and they look down at their pads and they're looking down the entire time. And he said, you're the first person that actually looked at me and you're actually talking to
Mm-hmm.
me. I can tell you're talking to me and not at me. And so I think that it's important that we go on a deeper level, and that's the whole point of being real. That you're going deeper than just the superficial, and that's what we're
Yeah.
going to be
Right. Yeah.
continuing to talk about on the
Yeah.
podcast. It's just I'm so
Yeah.
so
Just
so
like
excited.
real
I'm
stuff.
excited about it.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
excited.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
excited.
Like, yeah. I think so too. I just think I'm totally excited about it. But I think these are conversations that, the world is having. So why can't we just add to those conversations? I think everybody has an opinion, and I think we have an opinion as well. And I think, and I think if you enjoy listening to us, you will find that, I'm very open-minded, but I think sometimes it's important to give a variety, have a very diverse opinion about a lot of things that are happening in our world, in our churches, in our spiritual life, and, just in general, what's happening to people. And I think it will be important to have those conversations and kind of, create a platform where, other women and men can log on and kind of, listen in to see what it's like to, be in the medical field and be on the side of hear the therapist's opinion and then hear the nurse's opinion. And I think it'll be kind of different to hear two different healthcare providers.
Right. Our different opinions. And then also that while we all have our opinions, that our opinions are biblically based. Our opinions are based in the Bible. And the real thing about us is when our opinions are not based in the Bible, we question one another. And we're going to question you too. Well, what does the Bible have to say about that? What does the Bible have to say about that particular opinion? So that's something that we're going to be providing, which I think is important, is that what is the foundation of our belief system? Yeah.
And I think, in some of our viewers, we definitely we're going to be able to talk to anybody, and I think if you definitely want to come on here and just know more about, just anything, I think this will be a great opportunity to tune in and get some insight.
We talk about
and you can always email us. Yeah, you can email us, and we'll definitely tell you what we think about things, we definitely provide services. I do, I'm taking new clients. I'm sure Brittney is as well. So we'll definitely be talking about that on the flip side of things, but this is not, the moment, but I definitely think, our conversations would definitely be, very, very basically
we're going to talk about it all. We're going to talk about it all. So definitely feel free if you want to email us. You can definitely feel free, and we'll put the email links and everything in. But if you want to email us and you want us to talk about anything specific, I don't think any topic is off the table. I don't know. What do you think? Is anything off the table?
I don't think there's anything off the table.
We talk about everything.
I'm pretty much open to talk about anything.
And I just wanted to say too, I don't want to scare anyone off by saying that our beliefs are based biblically. I don't want to scare you off by saying that because we are not saints. I'm not perfect. Definitely, I'm a sinner. I sin every day. I repent every single day because there are things. I'm a human being. Right. This is the
we're
truth.
human. And I think that's what
I'm a human. I'm not perfect. I strive for greatness. I do. I strive for greatness, but I am not perfect. And that's okay.
And we're not perfect at all.
Understand where we are and where do we stand in reference to God?
Yeah,
we're mere humans. I depend on him for everything in my life. A complete dependence on him. So that's why we say nothing's off the table. Listen,
nothing is off the table for me. I don't like to talk about everything because at the end of the day, we are like, at the end of the day, like God doesn't make us make choices. Like we make our own choices. So we have to choose. That's like we're choosing to be real. We have to choose him every day too. So everything we do is basically because we're making the decision, right? Like, and I think for us doing this podcast, we made a decision to keep it real. We made a decision to say, you know what, we may have something to say. And I think, one of the biggest things I've learned is that, on this journey of really embracing who I'm becoming is that I can't be comfortable doing that.
Yes.
So, and I think I needed to surround myself with people that were not going to keep me comfortable. And I think that's the importance of growth, is surrounding yourself with people on all levels that are not going to keep you comfortable. Because
Yes.
I realize that success is not made out of comfortability. It's not made in comfortability. Like, it's made in those uncomfortable places, and
Right.
you have to be molded and shaped. And I think that's the kind of conversations I want to have, is real conversations about various levels of growth on all levels,
Yes.
whether it's spiritually, mentally, sexually, physically,
Yes.
financially, in
Yes.
all ways that we should be growing as individuals. I think it's important to have those conversations with other people. We just thank you for tuning in with us today. This is our intro, so I
Intro.
hope you enjoyed it. So we're definitely looking forward to season 1. Thank you for tuning in, and we will have 8 more episodes left. So this is in our first season, and so we're calling this first season Keeping It Real. So every conversation is definitely going to be somewhat related to what we talked about today, but we're going to dive into those conversations.
Yes.
So I look forward to the next session,
Yes.
our next episode. So see you soon, and hopefully you guys tune in and take care and have a wonderful day. And we look forward to
See you
hearing
soon.
from you again. Take care. Bye.